adult and be like my dad, coming home mangled, earning that dough and paying all my bills and telling all my kids that I pay for their meals. I wanna be a man, I wanna be a grown up, and drink pints of lager in my local pub, complain about my job and the price of beer, and getting sunburned on holiday once a year. Oh, I wanna be a man. 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 It's probably a good thing I nearly always skimp, cause deep down inside of me a scary beast lives. Whenever I get dough in the palms of my hand, the beast screams, spend me now on stickers and sweets. Money disappears like socks in the wash, and I'm left with bellyache and stickers to swap. Mum and dad tell me save like my older brother will, but then the beast starts to scream and I spanked a lot. I'm one of 7 kids, money is always tight. Clothes are hand me down, we can't afford nights. Kids from my school go on holidays abroad, we holiday in Broadstairs, Kent for the folk festival. I should save like my parents tell me to, but then the beast starts to scream and I've got a sweet tooth. I do have ideas I've got a few, but they all involve money, what to do. I wanna be a man, I wanna be an adult. I be like my dad, I'm coming home mangled, earning that dough, I'm paying all my bills, and telling all my kids that I pay for their meals. I wanna be a man, I wanna be a grown up, and drink pints of lager in my local pub, complain about my job and the price of beer, and getting sunburned on holiday once a year. Oh, I wanna be a man. 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 School's alright, I have a laugh with my mates, but in class I find it hard, I can't be asked most days. I can add, subtract and I can read and write, but anything beyond that, it just makes my mind tired. I love the wind, I love looking outside, and I think about the things that really stimulate my mind. Mates think I'm dumb, mouth open wide, but they don't know what's going on with my brain inside. My mind's cinematic or mentally teleport. When I'm sat in class, I'm engaged with feeling bored, but I'm worried that I'm falling behind my cohort. There's a downward trend in my school report. But inside, I'm a war, I'm an actor, I'm a drummer, I'm a rapper, I'm an anything. But all of those things are for smarter kids. I should probably get a job and be done with it. I wanna be a man, I wanna be an adult, and be like my dad, coming home mangled, earning that dough, I'm paying all my bills, and telling all my kids that I pay for their meals. I wanna be a man, I wanna be a grown up, and drink pints of lager in my local pub, complain about my job and the price of beer, and getting sunburned on holiday once a year. Oh, I wanna be a man. 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 By the time I'm 12 years old, I'm starting to understand that I'm learning about politics without really knowing that I'm learning about politics. I'm sat at the dinner table with my dad, my mum, and my older brother Will. There's no dinner on the table. This is serious talk time. Dad's got that stern look on his face. I only ever have these discussions when I've been getting bad school reports, and there've been quite a few of those. My older brother Will has just got off the blower from his mate Mark. Mark has told Will that he's just been promoted from Sunday paperboy to the coveted role of Saturday shop assistant in Smith's Newsagents, Hawley, Surrey, where we live. Meaning, Will's Sunday paper round is now available. I mean, Mark's Sunday paper round, and he's offering it to Will. Will is delighted, and as soon as he's off the phone, he gets to mum and dad and asks them straight away if he can do it. They send him away upstairs to deliberate. As it stands, I know that John Major is Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister before him, and some geezer called Tony Blair with a cheesy grin wears a red tie and is leader of the Labour Party. I love football and music. I support Millwall and play footy at school, but I'm not very good at football. I just ain't very confident. But I play the drums at school, and I'm alright at that. And I want to set up a record label with my best mate, Rich. Rap Recordings, Rich and Paul. Even though we don't really know what a record label does, but we've already made a logo on his computer and printed out some business cards. We live in a nice area, but mum and dad don't have much money, meaning I don't have much money. Apparently it all goes on the bills and this thing called the interest rate, which sounds interesting, but not that interesting. Though I don't fully understand why, all of those things in my head are somehow intrinsically related. Dad has just called Will and me downstairs to the dinner table. He's telling Will that he can only do the paper round if he shares it with me. So through a blatant case of nepotism and state intervention, I'm about to start my first job as a paperboy. 12 years old, I'm learning about politics. It's cold and dark, but we're both up on time. We're sat at the breakfast table, eating breakfast. I'm eating no-bran Weetabix with untold sugar on top. So much sugar that I feel a little bit embarrassed every time I add a new layer on. And I try and do it so Will doesn't notice, because I'm pretty sure he'll have a go at me, as he's always saying how mum's saying how expensive it is. Will's eating no-bran shreddies, 1 layer of sugar, minimal. We brush our teeth, get our second, third, fourth hand BMXs out the shed, fix our lights, and then burn it around to Smith's. Something quite nuts about seeing these streets that I know so well at a time of day that I don't know so well. It's about 6:15 a.m. on a Sunday. There's barely anyone around. There's a couple of dog walkers, a few airport workers going to and from Gatwick, and the odd party casualty. We get to Smith's, and the first thing I notice is the strip lighting hurting my eyes. It's too early for this. All of the newspaper rounds are laid out on the floor at the back by the greeting cards. There's a couple of paper boys already here loading up their rounds. They look a bit older than me. I just found out that apparently you've got to be 13 to be a paper boy. I've got to let them know I've got a bit about me. I notice one of them looks up. All right. My brother nudges me. What are you doing, Paul? Mr. Smith then appears and ushers us up the back. He explains that our first job is to load all of the supplements into the broadsheets and then put all the leaflets into the tabloids, like a flat pack furniture kit. Mr. Smith then writes the addresses on tops of the newspaper so we can see them when they're in the bag. He then shows us where the bags are, these knackered, mangled fluorescent bags with nasty straps. And we load the bag, and my lord, is it heavy, and getting it over my shoulder is really difficult. We get out the shop, and then getting onto my bike is even harder. So much so when I go to pedal off, I lose control of the handlebars and I go straight into the shop window, knocking over a Wool's ice cream A-frame at the same time. Off to a flyer. First port of call on the round is the Royal British Legion Social Club. They take pretty much all of the newspapers. But it's kind of cool though, because they've got this massive letterbox and it's quite satisfying just putting them all through. I encounter my first dog in, about 5 houses down. I go to put this newspaper through the letterbox and I suddenly feel this beast clench onto the other end of it and I'm in a bit of a wrestling match and I want to run away. I want to run away like I used to when my mum was an Avon lady and she'd take me on her rounds. And I wouldn't go up to the door with the dogs. But whilst I'm tussling with this newspaper, it suddenly occurs to me that I'm being paid to deliver this newspaper and someone has paid for this newspaper, and then a light goes on, and then a slightly disheveled woman in a dressing gown opens the front door, wrestles his dog away, and asks me if I'm new. Yeah. She tells me to each week leave it under the doormat. Okay. Within about 10 minutes, I already much prefer the houses that take the tabloids. It's about a 40-60 split. 60% tabloids, 40% broadsheets. Broadsheets tending to go to the bigger houses. I mean, the broadsheets are just massive. It's like a flipping library. Who's got time to read all of this? And most of the houses that take them don't have a letterbox big enough, so I have to take all the supplements out that I've already put in and slot them back in. It's a pain in the arse. The round is about 3 streets long, with a little bit in between. Mark told us it's the sweetest round in the whole roster at the shop because it's the closest. Me and we'll clear them as quick as we can, then race each other back to the shop. When we get in, Mr. Smith is on the till. And he tells us he's already had 2 phone calls saying that we were late. But he says it's all right, as it's our first day. He then presses that magic button on the till and opens the drawer. And he takes out 2 lots of £1.50. And the sound of the coins scraping the plastic inner tray excites me. He then takes out this big A4 book with loads of squares and numbers in it and writes our initials. He then puts the £1.50 in my hands. It feels warm and I like the weight of it. Will tells me he's going to save his. Spend me now, Paul. Spend me now. £1.50, 150 pennies for each. Buy them all now. Eat me now. Eat me now. Yeah, I'll save mine too, Will. We get on our bikes and we ride back home. And I'm feeling good. Like I've just done a day's work. Like a man. But a paper boy. And about 2 hours. I put my £1.50 in a little pot on my bedside table. And for the rest of the day, I routinely go up in there, I take it out, and I put it in my hand, and I put it back in again. But I'm feeling good. I knew this script was a bad idea. It's about 3 p.m. on a Saturday. There's a queue going out of the door, and I can hear people moaning that I'm taking too long. After 2 years of being a paper boy and regularly turning up on time and covering all the other boys when they were off sick on holiday, come rain, snow or wind, Mr. Smith offered me the job when Mark left of Saturday assistant. £2.50 an hour, 5 days a week. That's like more money. Yes, Mr. Smith, I'll take it. Plus my Sunday paper round. I'm wrestling with the lottery machine trying to put this ticket in, but it keeps spitting it out. I put it in and it spits it back out. It's been like this every single time and there's a big queue. I'm trying to put this ticket in and I notice this guy skip the queue and come right to the front. He looks familiar. He's telling me that I've shortchanged him. Oh, sorry. I give him the change that he's asking for and then he walks off and says, yeah, nice try, son. The next 3 people in the queue check their change right in front of me. It's the 3rd time today this has happened. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm still wrestling with this lottery ticket machine when someone says, come on mate, hurry up. I'm like, oh, it's the lottery ticket machine. I shortchange someone else and then I go back to the till and give them the change again. Mr. Smith adds all the prices up in his head and then he gives out the change accordingly. He's like a genius or something. Quite often people come to the front and they might have like 4 or 5 different items, like a newspaper, a magazine, a bit of stationery, a chocolate bar and some sweeties, and they've all got like decimal numbers like £2.32. So I can't add that up in my head, so I have to do it on the checkout, on the till, and the numbers are old and knackered and really clunky, and sometimes I get them wrong. And I can't hold all those prices in my head, so I have to go back and check, making me even slow. Eventually, the lottery ticket goes in, and I have a momentary sigh of relief. But I know in a minute I'm going to have to struggle again, as like most people in this queue, I've got a lottery ticket in their hand, as it's that time of day. I get people asking me for obscure brands of cigarettes, and I spend what feels like about 3 hours at their point in my hand trying to find them. There's a kid come to the checkout, looks about 15. Sorry mate, have you got any ID? What? Have you got any ID? Sorry, I have to ask. It's at home, and you served me last week. Did I? Oh, alright. It's a 10 sovereign, yeah? Mr. Smith tells me if anyone asks my age to tell him that I'm 16, I'm 14, especially if that person from the council comes in. It's like this every single week. I get to about 4:30 and it goes quiet and I don't want anyone else to come into the shop. That's normally when this guy comes in, the well-spoken guy, short, side parting, glasses, little jacket. And he comes, shuffles in, he looks to see if anyone's there. And he comes in and he picks up 2 broadsheets. He then shuffles over to the top shelf and selects 3 or 4 jazz mags. He then puts them between 2 broadsheets, shuffles up to the counter, and he lifts up the corner so I can only see the prices. I then punch them in. And it's always a bit weird, like he knows that I know and I know that he knows. But we never say nothing and he shuffles away. I kind of feel a bit sorry for the guy. I want to look at the jazz mags too, but I can't. Sometimes I'm busting for the toilet, but I can't go. Mr. Smith is not there and he comes and locks up at the end of the shift, so it's just me. I've taken a risk a couple of times and just run out at the risk of things getting nicked. When Mr. Smith turns up at the end of the day, he pays me cash in hand, and it's nice to get a £5 note and a few extra coins, and I walk home feeling like I've done a day's work, but feeling like I don't like this. I still do my paper round on a Sunday, and I much prefer it. I can listen to music, and I don't have to talk to people. It's a simple job. Oh no, it's not. Sorry. I'm about 15. I'm sat at the dinner table with mum and dad. There's no dinner on the table. This is serious talk time. Dad's got that stern look on his face. Mum and dad are holding a letter from my school. It's got the results of my mock GCSE exams and my predicted grades. There's like one C on there, weirdly enough for French, which I'm shit at. And the rest aren't even worth mentioning. Dad tells me I need to buck my ideas up as I don't have a lot of options. He asks me what I want to do. I tell him that I want to do IT and that the careers advisor at school said there's a course at East Surrey College, GNVQ, like computers is the future or something. And I like playing computer games. And you don't need any GCSEs to do this course. Oh yeah. It's a simple job. Collect the trolleys, scattered around the car park, and then take them back to the main trolley park at the front of the store. It's a little bit like those wildlife documentaries with big orchestral soundtracks, scoring the lioness with a fresh batch of cubs who keep trying to scamper away, and if her to scoop them up in her bosom and then bring them back to the love and embrace of her arm. When I'm doing the trolleys, sometimes for a laugh, I like to imagine there's a big orchestral soundtrack scoring me as I bring the trolleys back to the love and embrace of the shopfront trolley park. Most of the time, I'm on my own doing this job, and I don't mind it. I get to think, it's all right. I've realised I'm not very good at most things. I'm already behind on my assignments at college. I just don't get it. It's a lot of spreadsheets. At school, I was all right at some things and crap at most others, and I know enough to know that all right plus crap equals shit. When I'm on the tills, I sometimes get confused, especially when I'm cashing up at the end of the day and make mistakes. It's probably why they keep putting me on the trolleys. Customers out in the car park get in my way sometimes, pricks, or don't look when they're reversing out of a spot, just as I'm carefully snaking a train of 15 or so trolleys, which I've become quite adept at, back to the front of the store. Or they're just plain lazy and don't even bother to wheel the trolley back to one of the several trolley parks located equidistant from each other, dotted around the car park. It's not that difficult, yet some of these knobs just dump them anywhere, sometimes in the middle of the road, or in a trolley bay, taking up a valuable space, bellends. Sometimes they wheel them all the way to a trolley bay and then just toss the thing so it's at some obtuse angle. Then some other cockpiece will follow suit and do the same thing, so you end up getting a trolley bay with 5 carelessly placed trolleys when there should be 25 in the one trolley bay. Is it really that difficult? Wankers. Aside from that, I don't mind this job. It's all right. I get time to think, and I can do the job. It's simple. Some moron is trying to take the trolley out of the car park onto the public pavement, directly underneath the big sign which clearly says the wheels will lock if you take them out the car park. Dickhead. I've just thrown away the wrong bit, or whatever. I'm about 17. I'm sat at the dinner table with mum and dad. There's no dinner on the table. Dad's got that stern look on his face. This is serious talk time. Mum and dad are holding a letter from my college saying I can no longer continue on my GNVQ IT course due to an outstanding amount of assignments overdue. I'm being kicked out. Dad looks at me directly. What the bloody hell have you been doing for the last 9 months? Even though this is serious, and it's a rhetorical question, and I'm in a bit of trouble here, my mind immediately starts playing the opening few bars of that Van Halen song, Jump, and starts concocting a visual montage of my very best moments at East Surrey College. I'm in class, chatting to girls on the internet and getting into arguments with American kids. I'm chatting with other football fans about who's got the hardest firm. I'm reading drum and bass websites. I'm looking at porn and trying to download it on the floppy disk, but it takes ages. I'm smoking bad quality weed in Red Hill Memorial Gardens. I'm playing pool and snooker every day at Colours. I'm going into street talk knowing I can't afford any of the crazy Machino shirts, but I still look at them anyway. I'm hanging out in the Belfry shopping centre, never buying anything. And every single day, at least once a week, not every day, at least once a week, I'm getting stopped in Red Hill Town Centre by that same police officer who offers me £15 to take part in a lineup at Reigate Police Station as I fit the description of some crime committed that week. I don't know, Dad, I just fell behind. Dad tells me to hear my mum think maybe studying's not best suited for me and that I should maybe try for one of these apprenticeship schemes, and there's one at Crawley College. They tell me they're very disappointed and I feel like shit. He also says, which I forgot to mention, I've got to get a full-time job. My back is killing me. I've been having back problems for a while now, ever since me and Rich got in that fight with those older kids at Crawley Down Youth Centre and one of them smashed me in the back. And doing this job isn't helping. Chopping up wood is really hard. I thought it was cool at first because we get to wear these lumberjack shirts, doing a graft type job. But when it's loads of wood, branches, logs, and massive bits for trees, and I've got to chop it up, and the vibrations from the chainsaw really ate my arm, and then I've got to pick it up, take it in the skip, and when I come back there's a load more of it. It's flipping hard. Rich got me a job working as a groundsman for a tree surgeon. We're 2 days into this job, somewhere near Guildford, the actual rich part of Surrey, at this massive house, some guy, he's a banker or something. We've been left on our own to finish off the job to try and pull down this massive tree. It's like an oak tree or something. We've got this rope around it and we're pulling it like our life depends on it. We're pulling so hard and I can feel it start to come. It starts making these creaking noises and I feel the vibrations in my feet. It's starting to come. We keep pulling, and then I hear this crack. And the whole top half of the tree comes smashing down right onto the roof of the rich banker's brand new grand design type shed. Wallop. Just like a big foot stepping on a discarded polystyrene kebab tray. Just like that. We don't get invited back to finish the job. It's alright. I weren't cut out for this anyway. Hurts my back too much. I'm in this little back room where I always sit on my own at the back of the building, left to my own devices. My boss Sandy is never here. He's always at the factory. And the other engineers say he's a bit mental and they don't know why I was employed. And nor do I. There's a few manuals on the floor from where I've been desperately trying to learn how to use the company's internet security products, which all run on some nutty program called Linux, which has all of these weird commands that I have to learn. Virtual private networks. That's what this company does, and I know virtually nothing about it. I've been here for over a year. It's taken me weeks just to get my head around the most basic concepts. At college, they showed us how to use Microsoft Office and told us what was inside a computer, and that was supposed to get us ready for the workplace. Out the window, I see that sales guy, Patrick. He's walking with the 3 business people who I've just sat in a sales meeting with. He's helping them load their suitcases into the taxi. Yesterday, that sales guy, Patrick, who looks like a walking sperm and talks like you can never understand what he's actually thinking, came in the back room and asked me to come into his sales meeting today to demonstrate the VPN software to some potential clients. Me, the T-boy. I don't ever want to let anyone down, and my boss Sandy's never around, so I said yes, I do what I'm asked. When I walked into that meeting, there were 2 men and a woman, all smartly dressed with suitcases. Like, where are these people from? I was wearing my cream-coloured Umbro top, and I suddenly became very self-conscious of the 2 earrings, the stripe in my eyebrows, and all of the jewellery that I had on. Patrick is talking to them about me like I'm some kind of little genius. The guy doesn't even know me and he rarely ever speaks to me. I don't think he knows anything about me. The second thing I notice is that the machines in the room that I'm supposed to set up are very, very different to the ones that I've learned to use. The connections are totally different. And suddenly I can't remember and don't know where what cable goes. My hands are shaking. I plug a cable in, then unplug it, then plug it back in again. I switch both the computers on and now I can't remember any of the basic line of commands and my fingers are all over the place. And the more stressed I get, the more I mistype. Nothing's happening, no connection. I try again, switch them off, switch them back on again. I notice one of the guys looking at his watch. Eventually Patrick steps in. I say sorry and walk straight out the room, right across the office to that back room, thinking I want to punch something or punch myself. I'm sat in that back room, wishing they never would have come in the first place, left to my own devices, on my own, like I have been for the last year and a half or whatever it is. I watch them walk out of the car with Patrick as he puts them into the taxi. I can't tell if that Patrick guy is angry or embarrassed, but he's red in the face, and so am I. I'm about 19. I'm sat at the dinner table with mum and dad. There's no dinner on the table. This is serious talk time. I've not had one of these serious talks in a good while. Dad's got that stern look on his face. He's telling me that I need to leave home. Just like him and mum, I need to go out into the world, stand on my own 2 feet. And for the first time ever, I actually agree with them. I need to go out there, get a job, whatever job I can, and try and make it work. Dad's not being cruel or harsh, it's what they had to do. They've done their bit, and now I need to go and do mine. Currently, as it stands, I'm unemployed. The first one out of my siblings and out of my friends to go on the dole, and I'm not proud of it. I got made redundant from my apprenticeship. Some bubble called .com has not long burst, and there ain't really a demand for weed smoking IT apprentices. So I've now got to take whatever job I can and move out. But I don't mind working. I do what I have to do. But that other bit, living, paying bills, credit cards, buying food, putting it in the fridge, cooking it, that's going to be hard. But you make your bed and you lie in it. Have you considered working in retail? 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 But then it's more powerful than a pencil. Rubber like ink is really difficult. Friends ask me why I don't write. I say that I don't really know to be truthful. These kids now a default state. Right, I can't pay. Overdue on the overdraft. Using credit cards to pay rates. Chipped up on my shoelace. Chipped up on my shoelace. The pen is more powerful than a pencil. Rubber like ink is really difficult. Friends ask me why they were right. I say that I don't really know to be truthful. These kids now a default state. When it comes to drinks, I can't pay. Overdue on the overdraft. Using credit cards to pay rates. Every job I get, I just hate. Qualified, I just ain't. Options, there ain't many. Or when there is, it ain't great. I had an actual attack during the rat race. Couldn't keep up, tripped up on my shoelace. Unstuck in the sock drawer. Magazine rack stash for the sock drawer. Have you considered working in retail? Have you considered working in retail?
And you can see it's working in retail. The penny's more powerful than a power tool. I don't know how to use the drill. I make the basic man skills. Rooms left looking like landfill. I'm bigger than a chooser. I love more time than a loser. I ain't got the moolah. So let's drink to the future. People want to get funds from job seekers pointing out retail. If you consider working in retail, if you consider working in retail, otherwise I wanna be a rapper. Tells me to write a CD, good team player, qualified. All the things that I don't wanna be. If you consider working in retail, if you consider working in retail, if you consider working in retail, and you can see what's working in retail.
Whilst I'm stood in the reception of this building, it suddenly occurred to me that I've now lost count of how many jobs I've had. I think this is number 7 or 8. I'm 21 and I've already moved to Brighton. I'm on my second address, about to move my third, and this is my second job. The geezer on the security desk had taken my photo, given me a red temporary ID badge, which I attached to my ill-fitting shirt, and told me to head up to floor number 2. I had to wait for someone to come and swipe me into the lift and press the button, as apparently these badges don't do anything. They're just for show. I stood in that lift thinking the same thing about me, wearing this brand new clubber, which I hastily bought using the rapidly running out of credit card. I can barely walk. My movement is slow, painfully slow. Thank God I'm in the lift and not taking the stairs. These brand new leather shoes are killing me. My trousers too tight and this shirt too baggy. That's too many twos, and I'm definitely not Jay-Z. Last night, I played a full 90-minute game of football. At my last day, the last day of my shift at Sainsbury's, having not played or taken part in any sport or any physical exercise really, aside from walking, in a very long time. I think I might have overexerted myself. I woke up this morning busted, feeling like I'd had the total shit kicked out of me. Somehow I got dressed and hobbled all the way down from Preston Park to the South Lanes. And now I'm stood here like a mug, all bent out of shape, worried that my hip's gonna pop out at any moment. In this 70s call centre, waiting to start my new temp job for Lloyds Bank via a Deco employment agency. I'm stood by the door in full view of everyone who works in here. It's open plan, or whatever it is they call it when everyone can see each other. I don't really know anything about this job, and seemingly there is no one willing to come and even introduce themselves to me, or at least tell me where I should be waiting. I'm painfully shifting my weight from one leg to the other like a really shit seesaw. I've been nervously stood here for the last 10 minutes, wondering with increasing alarm about what I'm supposed to be doing. It doesn't take long before my internal monologue starts turning into a eulogy. Paul, you're a dickhead. What are you doing? Paul, there's probably some very simple instruction that you've not followed because you're a bellend. Run away, Paul. Run away. There's the door. Run away. Now. No one cares. Run. Actually, don't run because you can't run. Can you, you dickhead? Because you played football last night and didn't stretch, and you're totally unfit for anything. Several banks of workers all sat around these octagonal desks, all seem to be taking turns to look at me whilst wearing these Mr. Motivate headsets, whilst having tense phone conversations with people who owe money to the bank. I know this much. This is a collection centre for Lloyd's TSB. I doubt any people on the other end of the blower want to be having these conversations. I'm supposed to be doing something to do with data entry, typing numbers into a spreadsheet most likely, and presumably being supervised by someone. Or at the very least, being told where I need to stand or sit, while said supervisor comes and loads up the video with the minor celebrity telling me with the correct way of lifting a box. Is this part of the job?
Is it like some shit unskilled worker version of those initiative tests they do for new MI5 recruits? It's a bit much for a temp job, innit? I spy this vending machine at the other end of the room, a fair old distance away, next to some partitioned off area. Maybe that's where the phase 2 interrogation is, before I'm blindfolded, bundled in a van and dropped off in a lorry park somewhere off the M4, where I tackle the data entry in some giant warehouse full of nuclear warheads with a digital clock on a countdown. I'm going to that vending machine. I'll go to walk. Oh, no, I'm not. I've been stood still for a good 10 minutes. My body has seized up again. Putting one leg in front of the other and moving forward is like a rescue operation for some massive rusting oil tanker that's been marooned on some rocks for the last 30 years. Also, if I head down to that vending machine, I'm worried I'll be in the wrong place for me to stand and I'll miss the person I'm supposed to meet and end up getting in trouble on my first day. Why can't someone tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? I go to the toilet, I go to move, that hurts, I can't, I turn back around, that hurts as well. This hurts too. Wait, what if that vending machine is where I'm supposed to wait? That little partitioned off area. I go to walk towards it again, what if it ain't? I stop, this is stupid. I've turned around on the same spot now 3 times, like an inebriated, agitated, disorientated squirrel. All in front of these Mr. Motivator headphone people. What am I doing? Why am I the only person who seems to unintentionally turn the most mundane and simplest of tasks into a scene from Indiana Jones? I take a breath and reason with myself. Maybe I should head over to that vending machine and get a drink. I think I've messed this up anyway. I might as well go out in a blaze of hydration. I slowly and painfully walk forward, 1 foot at a time, feeling like a Blue Peter camera crew are following my every move. And every other pair of eyes in this call center is fixed on what must be the world's shittest catwalk impression. As I keep that vending machine in my eyesight, moving towards it, hoping that it's not some sort of mirage that my mind has conjured up, and this isn't really one big, never-ending call center abyss in which I never find what I'm meant to be doing and die on the call center floor like a dead mouse in that weird claws up position with his mouth having never made it to the desk that I'm supposed to sit at. Just a corpse stripped of its cheap Primark clobber and Elizabeth Duke jewellery by the workers. Another Adecco employee temp who failed miserably. I should have stayed at Sainsbury's. Data entry is clearly above my station. And yeah. I'm sat on this really wide purple chair, the type of chair they seem to have in a dentist waiting room, leafing through some glossy trade magazine, wondering who actually reads these. They couldn't be any drier. Some editorial with a visit picture of a middle-aged guy with very shiny white teeth talking about caravan holidays in Wales. That dryness must have erased the last few moments of my life, because somehow I've got a cup of water from the vending machine and I'm sat down. There's 2 women sat opposite me chatting. They look familiar with each other, so I assume they work here. There's another geezer, Asian guy with glasses and a moustache, sat there on his own drinking coffee, also reading the same trade magazine. I wonder if he's got to the lawnmower reviews yet. Hi, Peter. I look up to see a guy with long black hair, tattoos and lots of silver jewellery, and a short sleeve black shirt, black jeans and DMs. He looks like the sort of geezer that doesn't belong in a big bank working in a call centre. Nah, sorry, I'm Paul. Paul, sorry, I'm Darren, and you must be Mohammed. I think this is the geezer that's going to tell me the correct way of lifting a box. Cheers. I've been at Lloyd's for a few weeks. It's more money than Sainsbury's, but still not enough, especially as I'm looking to get out of that bedsit and move into a flat with my mate Mick. I've been spending time going through the free papers in the evening and in the job centre, ringing up telesales jobs, care work. These seem to be the only sort of jobs available in Brighton. I turned up to an interview for some part-time evening job, went all the way there, about a good mile away, and the company had gone into liquidation. I even inquired about getting my old job back at the airport, but to no avail. So it was a touch when I was sat in the bedsit and this part-time cleaning job, which I don't even remember calling up, phoned me back offering me a trial shift.
I'm in the bedsit, pressed up against the window, the only place where I can get signal, by this polite sounding woman, which I didn't expect, called Barbara, was telling me the coup. It sounds perfect. Monday to Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. I finish Lloyd's at 4, enough time to get home, get changed and clean. Cleaning, I'd hoovered, mopped and scrubbed most places where I'd lived. How hard can it be? I'm a couple of weeks into this gig at Lloyd's and it's all right. I'm part of a small team supervised by Darren, who I found out is into goth and blues music and plays bass in a band with his mate. I get the impression Darren's a low-key maverick, trying to take down the corrupt banking system from within. Either that, or he's just trying to keep his nut down and stay off the phones. He's carved out this little team for himself. It's a sweet gig as he supervises, and aside from the senior managers, we're the only ones that don't have to talk on the phone to the customers. I don't fancy that job, even if they do get paid a lot more money, and have holiday pay, and sick pay. Dealing with people in debt, no thanks, I've had some of those phone calls before. I work with Mohammed, who's not long come over to England from Pakistan. Geezer was a university lecturer back there in politics. Now he's over here, sat next to me, typing check numbers into a spreadsheet all day long, for a wage only slightly more than what I earned at Sainsbury's, which still ain't enough to cover the basics, not even Sainsbury's basics. Mohammed also works at a newsagent on the weekends and Marks and Spencer's in the evening, and he hasn't complained once. In fact, the only time when I hear him even remotely complain is when we talk about the numerous nuances and colloquialisms that everyday British people speak with. He tells me he finds it difficult understanding anyone. He speaks near perfect English, and he's surprised when I tell him that I know hardly anyone that does. This gig's alright though. No customers or dickhead managers breathing down my neck, and it's simple. Me and Mohammed drink the free watery tea from the vending machine anytime we want, collect the fraudulent check copies from the fax, then type the details into the spreadsheet looking for patterns. We're dealing with low-level fraud, what seems like small teams of people running up and down the country with check guarantee cards all over the UK, nearly always spending them at cash converters, Londis or cost cutters. It's vaguely interesting. Vaguely. My eyes and wrists hurt at the end of each day from the constant typing and intently staring at a screen and correcting all my mistakes. But Darren seems cool, and I like Mohammed. This gig's alright. It's better than Sainsbury's. So I'm at this big swanky new build office complex behind Brighton Station. All of the buildings have grand names, like Admiral House. I just met Barbara upstairs in the building that I'm going to be cleaning. It's the offices of the DVLA. Barbara's a burly woman with short grey hair, glasses, probably about mid-50s, friendly yet assertive. I get the feeling she's seen it all, like some kind of cleaning game version of a Vietnam vet. There's this other girl there called Holly who's also doing a trial shift with me. She's maybe around mid-20s with longish blonde dreadlocks and the sort of baggy trousers that I imagine posh kids might wear on gap years to India. Not an uncommon sight in Brighton. She seems nice though. Barbara is showing us around the office what we need to clean and where all the gear is. She pulls out 2 Henry the Hoovers out the cupboard. Off you go, she says. I don't move for a moment. I don't know why, but I was expecting a little bit more, like, where's the training video with the minor celebrity telling me how to lift a box? Off you go. I shrug my shoulders, pick up the Hoover and get stuck in. About an hour passes, and I've given it a good crack, hoovering, wiping and dusting, enough that Barbara is now offering both me and Holly the job. She takes down our bank details, gets us to sign something, gives us a key and alarm codes, and off we go. That's it. I'm a cleaner now. I now have 2 jobs, 5 days a week, and hopefully enough money to pay my bills, eat, and maybe have a couple of beers. That's better than what I did have. I feel relieved, and I think maybe, just maybe, kind of proud. Maybe I'm getting somewhere. Maybe. Me and Mohammed are the 2 data entry clerks in the call centre, and we're on the lowest rungs of the ladder. But I'm alright with that. We just get on with it. No one really bothers us. Lloyd's seems to have an almost endless hierarchy of team leaders, supervisors, managers, floor managers, area managers, supreme managers, vice chancellor managers, and lieutenant brigadier general managers. And we're on the very bottom, maybe one above the cleaners, but it's better than Sainsbury's. As long as those senior managers sign out Adecco timesheets at the end of every week so me and Mohammed can get paid, I don't mind. Most of the other people here don't really talk to us. To be fair, they probably see the temp workers come and go all the time. They're mostly stuck on the phones chasing money from customers who owe a lot of dough. I've since found out This call centre deals with the big debts and is the last chance saloon before cases go legal. So quite often, there's some pretty intense conversations going on around me. A lot of raised voices at times and talks of threats and solicitors. These guys are the elite collectors. And I found out Lloyd's has debt collecting centres all over the place, all dealing with debt. How many customers does flipping bank have? Apart from my eyes and chest stinging a bit from the various cleaning products I have to use every day, this gig's alright. I come in, say hello to Holly and crack on with it. Sometimes I chat to the office manager, but then I carry on as she normally goes home. It's a bit of a mission getting here, eating and that, but I bought a load of frozen mints and I try and cook it on a Sunday so I can eat it for a few days after. But this gig's alright. I listen to music on my mini disc player and just clean. Me and Holly have started rotating on the toilets. At first, I do the boys and she do the girls. Now she's figured out it's quicker if one of us does both and the other does the kitchen and then rotate. Yesterday, I went in and cleaned the ladies, and all the rumours were true. They really are nicer. I'm thinking a lot about writing lyrics, sometimes a little bit too much, and I forget what I'm doing and type the wrong information on the spreadsheet. It's happened a few times now, and Mohammed has to correct me. Gets on my nerves a bit. I've been doodling on my paper as well, where I'm supposed to write notes. I've developed this sick new biro technique, all highlighted lines in there, all mad squiggles, getting right into it. I also write lyrics on the sly in my little notebook when there's in-between moments whilst we're waiting for the next lot of checks to get faxed over. The limited internet access that Lloyd's offers allows us to look at the BBC News website, Company's House and Experian. I'm trying to learn how the world works because I want to know. I feel like I need to know and I don't know. In fact, I feel like I know nothing and that makes me frustrated. It makes me wonder, what was the point of school? I've recently taken to reading all of the published manifestos from the political parties contesting the upcoming 2005 general election. It's on the BBC website. Trying to get my head around it all. And it just so happens, I've got a political expert sat next to me, typing check numbers into a spreadsheet, listening to me talk about garage and jungle. Mohammed often talks to me when I ask him, which is all the time, about his specialism, which was international relations. He explains to me the situation in Pakistan with Mubarak and their relationship with America, India, and the rest of the Middle East. In our very uneven daily information exchanges, I talk to him about all the things that I know about, which isn't a lot, but mainly football and music. I tell him about all the other sick things about the UK that I like biscuits. I've got him right into digestives and custard creams. And I try and impress him by using the one or two Urdu swear words that I learned from the Pakistani kids back at school. I don't think he's that impressed though. I couldn't find one of the senior managers on the Friday. Apparently they all had a half day and just went home. So that means that no one signed my timesheet, which means I don't get paid this week. I phoned up the agency, they don't help. They just said I get paid double next week. It's getting hard to control my eating impulses. Where I've been making mince on a Sunday, I just end up eating it all on the Monday. So when I'm getting home from work for the rest of the week, I've got nothing to eat except for white bread and butter. And I've been reading a lot about food and diet, and it turns out bread's really bad for you. And I can't be asked and don't have time to cook anything else. I'm pretty tired and I've got a bit of a cough, but I'm alright. Last few nights I've been having trouble sleeping. I can smell bleach all the time. Regardless, this cleaning gig's still alright. It's hard work, especially cleaning those mirrors in the toilets. I keep smearing the things. I've had 2 pay slips now from my cleaning job, and it turns out it's not as much money as I thought. When the first one, I thought it was a mistake, but I've got this tax code where they take loads of tax off. Apparently some second income shit. I've been late a few times this week. It's getting colder and I'm finding it hard to get up in the mornings. Darren had to have a little word with me in the partitioned off area. He was nice about it as he knows I'd moved house recently and that was stressful enough. Man, my mum and dad had to sign some guarantor form in case I default on the rent because I had bad credit or something. Dad weren't happy about that. It makes me think, what happens if you ain't got someone to sign that form? I tell Darren I'm really sorry and I'll double my efforts. I like Darren and I think he's let me off a bit here, so I don't want to let him down. He tells me also I've been making too many mistakes on the spreadsheet and I should slow down when I type. Problem is, as our little teams become more and more successful, we're getting more and more checks sent to us from other call centres. And I can't stay late because I have to go and clean at the end of the day, so I have to get all the work done. He tells me that he's inquired about being Mohammed being taken on permanently, which is amazing. that would mean a salary, holiday and sick pay, and more money. I tell him thank you, and in a way it makes me feel worse because I feel like I've let him down. I ask him for permission to have a few days off. I'm going to Newquay with some of my mates. He tells me I could do with a break. I'm on my way to clean. Feel like I'm walking through treacle. Spent the whole afternoon at Lloyd's trying not to fall asleep like there were two big weights pushing down on my eyelids. I'm walking past a big billboard near the railway bridge that I walk past every day. And every day this week I've stopped to look at it. It's election season. The current poster on the billboard is for the Labour Party, and it has some big slogan with Margaret Thatcher's face. Now, predictably, someone has climbed all the way up and written cunt on her forehead. It's really high up, so they must have had to go into a little trouble, or a lot of trouble, and the handwriting is scrawled and a bit crap, and it reminds me of the style me and my mates used to graph the toilets with at school. It makes me laugh though, every single day when I see it. So I stop, pay my respects, and I move on. I walk slower today. I'm trying to conserve my energy because it feels like it's gradually leaking out of me like a slow puncher on a tyre. Saw my brother last week, he said I'd lost weight. I arrive in the building, head up the stairs, I just about get the job done, go home, collapse on my bed and stare at the ceiling struggling to sleep. I can't wait for Newton. I snapped at Mohammed today, I feel like shit. He was calmly reminding me not to type so fast as I kept making mistakes. I ignored him. He calmly reminded me again. I ignored him. He calmly reminded me again. He then leant over and to correct my mistake. I can fucking see it. I was going to change it. Everyone heard. I barely spoke for the rest of the day. Spent the time on my head chastising myself for being a prick and being rude to Mohammed. I arrive at the cleaning job. The first thing I see is Holly in the kitchen. She's normally zooming round by the time I get there. She stood next to Barbara. The office manager has complained that the job isn't being done properly and they know we've been leaving early. Barbara then makes us go around with her so we can show her what we've been doing, and it very quickly becomes clear who's been letting the team down. Barbara then makes me shadow Holly for the rest of the evening so Holly can show me how she cleans. Aside from giving me the instructions, Holly barely speaks to me. I'm going to Newquay tomorrow. I'm back at home, sat on the dinner table, eating a shepherd's pie that Mum's made. I can't remember the last time I ate shepherd's pie. Mum and Dad are looking at me. Dad's got that stern look on his face, but slightly different to what it normally is. I've been home for a few days now. My big sister had to pick me up from the hospital where I've been discharged, but signed off work for a week with exhaustion. That's a whole week with no money. Went to Cornwall with my mates, partied, took a few things that I shouldn't have, didn't sleep, and those headaches I've been getting just got worse and worse to the point where every time I closed my eyes, I thought that my brain was going to implode. I phoned back to Brighton, phoned up that NHS advice line, and they rung for an ambulance. Funny thing was, where I've been reading all this stuff about food and diet, I was getting quite into natural remedies, and I'd stopped taking paracetamols and aspirin. So when the nurse came round and offered me paracetamol and aspirin, I said, no, don't take those. She laughed and then listed off the illegal substances that I'd taken that weekend. I took those paracetamol and that aspirin and someone else that gave me to help me sleep, and I felt like I slept like I hadn't slept in months. Mum and Dad don't lecture me. They just tell me they're a bit disappointed and they feel like I should know better than this. I feel like I've let them down. I've left home, messed it up, and now they've got to take care of me again. It weren't supposed to be like this. I've got to get back to Brighton, hope I haven't been sacked, and try and get out of this mess. This is my bed, and I've been neglecting it.
lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. You make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. You make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. The world owes me nothing. I keep huffing and puffing. I'm only just starting. One day I won't be struggling. They might think I'm stupid, they might think I'm dumb. I made some mistakes when all said and done. But some piece of paper containing a grain doesn't explain what's inside of my brain. You try to get ahead and you hit those dead ends, so you turn back around and you go back to bed. You try to get ahead and you hit those dead ends, so you turn back around and you go back to bed. You make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. You make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. The world owes me nothing. I'll keep huffing and puffing. I'm only just starting. One day I won't be struggling. They might think I'm stupid, they might think I'm dumb. I've made some mistakes when all said and done. But some piece of paper explaining a grade and doesn't explain what's inside of my brain. You try to get ahead and you hit those dead ends, so you turn back around or you go back to bed. You try to get ahead and you hit those dead ends, so you turn back around and you go back to bed. And you make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. You make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. You make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head. You make your own bed and you lie in that bed, and when things don't go wrong, well then that's on your head.